was hiding. And then I heard that the organizers of this are no longer fucking the poets. Is that accurate?
If you ask nicely,
It's bright as fuck. You guys want to be mad or sad? All right. This is, a bit of a trigger warning. This is some extremely far-left propaganda. If you are anywhere to the right of the complete dismantling of all systems and structures as we know it and reorienting everything around equity and the needs of the many, focusing specifically on the needs of the most vulnerable and oppressed amongst us, if you're anywhere to the right of that, take a walk, take a piss, take a shit, I don't know, do something. When did you realize life was more complicated than we were led to believe it would be by shows like Sesame Street? Big Bird really had us thinking peace was possible, that it could be achieved. Now, where's the puppet or the public access TV host who doesn't just teach how to paint or how to read, who doesn't just try to plant seeds of positivity, but teaches about resistance, about the harm of indifference, about how communities built on unity stand in opposition to the operation of a nation rooted in slavery and greed? Where's the Jim Henson-designed animatronic activist reminding children that while being an adept reader is important, so is knowing that some institutions simply don't want you to succeed. And they don't care if you have anything to eat. And they're actively trying to keep you on your knees. Sure, a positive word from Mr. Rogers is necessary, but so is being shown that laying down in front of the entrance to the Amazon warehouse parking lot over on Wilmington can cause a fiscal disruption and teach a lesson to leaders who think we'll just accept the perpetuation of propaganda without ever doing anything. The school board just passed a resolution reducing the requirements for graduation because ignorance is easier to govern and because they can't teach about uprising and government infiltration. They don't want us knowing their secrets. That kind of thing is only for them. They like to talk about how the civil rights movement was peaceful and nonviolent, but not about how the marches resulted in deaths and beatings. So rather than using my hands to commit violence as my forefathers did, I've decided to use mine to write. And although I feel like I'm failing every second, I won't quit until my thumbs and tongue have been taken from me. Someday I may be a gallows resident or in a hidden basement suffering, and I hope I don't become like Winston Smith, given pain until I give in and become the propaganda that you see on your TV. But for enough money, well, most of us will do just about anything, and that's the plan. I think, raise your voice loudly and they'll stuff your wallet enough to make you complicit. Speak out against oppression and they'll shut you up with riches. But keep talking that anti-capitalist shit and they'll call up their most seasoned agents to destroy all you've been given. They'll rewrite the truth and reduce us to a nation of paranoid Hemingways or Gary Webbs, and we'll know something has changed. Everything will feel different, but nobody will listen, and we'll be found gagged and hanged or with 2 bullets to the brain and a hastily written suicide note and a death certificate claiming it was an overdose, but that gets crossed out and rewritten again and again until they find the best lie to fit the facts and to match the report from the coroner. They found no defensive wounds, and the door to the room where the body was found was locked from the inside. For that, there can only be one explanation. Scratch out everything again and just write suicide. And if anybody asks any other questions, just go ahead and end their life and call it an unfortunate accident. And that's how it's been for a century or 10 or 100. We just have to get more people to give a shit about the obvious mistreatment of all our neighbors and friends, regardless of the color of their skin or their religion or what nation they were born in or if they have a dick. And we can end oppression, the only real sin, at least according to Jesus, the first person who was never listened to by evangelists, because in my experience, they are simply racist, misogynist, supremacist, nationalists hiding behind the identity of Christian. And even though public television is really teaching us nothing truly useful to live in a dying empire as it is, they'll still rip it from us because it's about taking control in the name of God. It's the opposite of every lesson Jesus taught, to walk away from positions in government and make change through sacrificing power and giving up the self for the sake of everyone else. So, on today's episode, Bert and Ernie explore who community policing really helps. And look out, it's For Grover flying over, arriving to tell you not to buy any more of that shit sitting on Walmart shelves, at least until the workers get paid well. And Elmovitz is a detention center on the border only to be refused entry, and he explains the strange history of concentration camps and how this is the same but with a different name, and the faces of caged children makes Oscar the Grouch hang himself with a belt. I know this is supposed to be for kids, but maybe the most important lesson should be every day that if we don't eradicate white supremacy at an early age, nothing will ever change. And then Sesame Street will be paved and renamed to something like Citibank Place, and it would be proudly sponsored by the U.S. Department of Education and the NRA. Thank you.